Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Joy Business Report. My name is Darryl Kwao. Great to be with you this morning. Hello to our friends listening from Koforidua on KTU Radio. Coming up, Ghana's external debt set highest in Africa, raising question as to why it is the only country in the ECOWAS region that is debt distressed. We hear from an African Development Bank report. Also coming up, commercial banks push for operationalization of financial stability fund to sustain the operations. Plus, managers of some companies arrested for data breaches granted bail, but expected to report to the CID today. We hear from the Data Protection Commission. Stay with us. And first up, commercial banks are making a strong case for the operationalization of the much talked about Financial Stability Fund to sustain the operations. This was captured in the Ghana Association of Banks report on the mid-year budget review. Here's more.
Ghana Association of Banks believes that the Stability Fund, together with planned recapitalization of banks in the country, will ensure stability as well as strengthen financial intermediation to support the private sector. Government is currently waiting for some financial support from the World Bank and other donors so that the fund can take off in September this year. The Financial Stability Fund, according to government, is expected to support banks and financial institutions in the country that were badly hit by the domestic debt exchange program. The banks are also pushing for shareholder investments now to help restore capital buffers in the long term. On return to profit position by most of the commercial banks for the first half of this year, the Ghana Association of Banks believes that this can be partly linked to introduction of temporary regulatory reliefs by the Bank of Ghana. They also believe that a lot more still needs to be done to help restore public confidence in the banking industry.
That was George Affe. Now, managers of various companies that were arrested on Monday for failing to comply with the country's data protection laws have been granted bail and are expected to report to the Police Criminal Investigation Department today. The enforcement exercise is to deter other data collectors from flouting the law. The Director of Regulatory and Compliance at the Data Protection Commission, Quintim Akobeto, told Joy Business that the exercise will continue across the country to ensure that individuals' data are safeguarded.
We will continue to visit data controllers and ensure that they are compliant with the processing of personal data and they are compliant with the Data Protection Act at 843 as required by law.
When you say data controllers, in simple terms, who are these people?
These are institutions and individuals who collect our personal details, who collect our personal data to actually offer us services or a particular activity. So long as they collect this information, it's expected of them, one, to register with the Data Protection Commission and also implement necessary and appropriate measures to safeguard the information they have collected from these individuals. And that is what we, the Data Protection Commission, is to ensure and supervise how they do this.
You had Quintim Akobeto, who is the Director of Regulatory and Compliance at the Data Protection Commission. Now, Chartered Management Accountant Albert Niaitego is urging entrepreneurs and business owners to carve their business plans in ways that would make an impact in society in order to qualify for grants provided by lenders. According to him, it is necessary for business owners to develop plans on execution and management of the grants to demonstrate their commitment towards achieving the intended aim of the grants. He spoke on Joy FM's Masterclass.
You can get grant financing from international and local organizations, but there are also the process where you would have to now carve your business in areas that are making impact. Then you will look for those financiers who are providing the grants that are actually supporting areas of impact that you are making, like climate change. And that is even bringing me to other industries. So if you are thinking about doing your business, look at areas, and that's a very good one in climate change, research and development areas. Do businesses around these areas, and that impact ultimately helps to develop what? Society.
You had a Chartered Management Accountant Albert Niaitego speaking on the masterclass. You're listening to the Joy Business Report. Now, Chairman of the Competitive Africa Rise Platform Ghana branch, Yao Edupoko, is warning that Ordinary Ghanaians who buy rice from retail shops in small quantities will be the hardest hit by a possible shortage of the staple. The Food and Agriculture Organization has warned that India's decision to ban export of rice and bad weather conditions could cause a shortage in developing countries like Ghana. Mr. Dupoku is of the view ordinary consumers will be the hardest hit.
Now that this ban is going to take effect, it is going to affect, and not only that, the other major exporters have also pushed their price up by about 12 to 15%, which means that the price of imported rice is going to rise. And so those who can afford to buy 5 kilo up to 50 kilo, they are not where the target for the hardship is. The hardship is on those who go to the market and buy compo. That small thing that we call compo is sold for 5 cedi to 8 cedi. They are those who are going to be affected by this situation. And because they are vulnerable, nobody seems to.
You had chairman of the Competitive Africa Rice Platform, Ghana branch, Yao Edupoku. Now, some traders and consumers have appealed to government to put in place measures to avert shortage of basic vegetables such as onions and tomatoes. The call comes after some trucks of onions were stuck at the Niger-Benin border as a result of the military coup in Niger. Now, some consumers have been speaking to Joy Business on the issue.
We are pleading with the countries along Niger's borders to open for our foodstuff to pass through. Onion is a perishable food and may get damaged soon. The prices of onions have gone up to the extent that customers do not purchase as they do in the past. Prices of onions keep going up, and this is due to the closure of Niger border. The onions produced in Boko are smaller in size. We only resort to onions from Boko when there is a shortage of onions from Niger. Due to the long distance, some of the onions from Niger get perished before they get here.
Because of
the government should do something about it. We, the traders, are suffering. Even when you budget your money based on previous week's purchases, you can only afford half of the budget.
Those were some consumers speaking to Joy Business. Let's turn to our top story this morning. Ghana's external debt relative to the size of the economy of about 39.5% in 2022 ranked it the 6th highest in Africa. According to the African Development Bank 2023 West Africa Economic Outlook report, Ghana's external debt of gross domestic product was higher than the West African average of 29.6%. Here's more.
At the end of December 2022, Ghana's external debt stood at $29 billion. But among the 16 ECOWAS countries, the nation is the only one that is in debt distress. It is therefore surprising because countries such as Cape Verde, Senegal, and Niger, which have high external debt relative to the size of their economies, are not in distress. According to the African Development Bank, external debt accumulation was facilitated by a rise in the issuance of Eurobonds. This suggested that exchange rate depreciation, as well as the current normalization of monetary policy across the world, were important risks for these countries. It added that the key drivers of external debt dynamics in West Africa were the rapid exchange rate depreciation, especially in commodity exporting countries, as well as high primary fiscal deficits and weak economic growth caused by the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 and Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Therefore, Ghana's economic challenges may not be only due to the high debt burden